Hi everyone, it's Jackie with Paper Moments, and I'm here to share with you the tutorial for my mini album that I created using Cartabella All Aboard paper collection. We're going to start with making the pages. Now you're going to make 4 pages, and to start with you're going to cut 4 sheets of cardstock that's 8 by 12. So I've already got one, and I'm only going to make 1 page just to show you how each page is made. They're all identical, so starting with the 8 by 12 along the 12-inch side, you want to score it at 6. And then you want to rotate your paper, and then you want to score it at 1/2 inch. And I'm going to get my other bone folder because now this paper is not the artesian cardstock that I normally use for my albums. This is my paper that I use to make my phototype creation. In order to make my album, I start with a cheaper paper to work with to decide what kind of design I want. So this is just some off-brand paper that I picked up. So what you want to do now that you've got this cut or scored is you want to go ahead and cut at an angle, and we're going to cut this whole piece off right here. So I'm going to cut it here at an angle, and then I'm going to cut this piece off. And you can use your scissors, but I'm just going to put it in my cutter and cut it, line my paper up at 7.5 because that's the size my page is going to be. And I'm just going to bring this all the way over and just cut it right to the score line. Okay. And then I'm going to just take this ink, come up here and miter that one edge. So that's what your page is going to look like. We're going to fold it over and burnish it. And then you're going to fold your score, your 1/2 inch flap over and burnish it. Now, when I make my albums, I usually use score tape and score tape sheets. But for my prototype, I'm only going to be using the glue. But when I make my album covers, I use score tape and score tape sheets. But for my pages, I always use the artesian glue, which you can find at Country Craft Creations. So you want to just fold it over, matching the edges. So your page is going to be, this is going to go onto your hinge, this side here. Your pages are going to be a 6 by 7.5. That is what my album is on my pages. Okay, and then we're going to start with the flap. So you want a piece of cardstock that you cut, and you want 4 of these because you're going to make 4 pages. So there's your base page. And then we're going to create the actual page with the additional cardstock. So you want a piece of cardstock that's 4 3/4 by 6.5. Along the 6.5 side at the top, you want to come down and score at 1/2 inch. So your actual flap is going to be 5.5 by 4 3/4. Okay. And you're going to put this right here, and I didn't really measure it. I'm sorry, your flap is going to be, you're going to cut a piece of cardstock 6 3/4 by 6.5. Fold your score at the 1/2 inch along the 6.5, and then you're going to have an actual flap that's 4 3/4 by 6, and it's going to cover the exact page. So, being that this is 4.5, I more or less eyeball it, and I think I lined it up at the 6-inch, so I'm going to go ahead and add my glue. I don't miter my corners on these at all because it's going to be in the middle of the page, and I'm just going to add it right there to the left-hand side of my base page. Okay, so that's going to go, this is the side that's going to go against your, on your hinge. And I'm just going to, now you can do anything you want with the corners. If you remember in my album, I think I did notch them with my small angle. But for my prototype, I'm not going to do that. The next thing you're going to do is cut 4 pieces. And again, I'm saying 4 pieces because you need 1 for each page. You're going to make 4 pages. You're going to need your belly band, which is going to be 2.5 by 5 3/4. On the 5 3/4, you want to score it 1/2 inch on each side. So along the 5 3/4 side, you want to score 1/2 inch. That's going to make your belly band. Okay. Go ahead and fold over your scored lines and burnish. And then we're going to add that right on here. And I just eyeballed it and put it in the middle. So I put glue on both sides, and I'm just going to eyeball it and line it up. Okay, there's your belly band. And then in my album, what I did was I took one of the cut-aparts, I matted that, and then after I put my pattern paper on my belly band, I adhered my photo mat with my cut-apart out on here. Okay. Now we're going to make the tag. So for the tag, and again, you're going to need to cut 4 of these because you're going to have 4 pages. All 4 pages are identical. You're going to cut at 4.5 and 4 3/4. At the 4 3/4 side, you want to go ahead. Oh, you don't want to. That is your tag. So that's going to fit right in here. There's no scoring, sorry. So your tag is going to go right in here. Okay, like that. And if you remember, I did use a die cut to make a to add to my tag a little handle at the top. What I did was I just used my punch from Stampin' Up, and I created this. So I'm just going to go ahead and score it down the middle so it will fold over. And just for this, I'm using this tag, the tag punch, to add to my tag. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just add glue to this. And you can use whatever tag, if you have a punch that you like more than the other, you have a die cut like I did on the other one. Whatever you want to do, use is okay. But I just wanted to add a little pull tab, and then you can add punch a hole right here to add your seam binding. So that's all it is. And there's your tag, and it's going to sit right in there. So you're going to have your flap, you're going to have your belly band, and then your tag that fits inside your belly band. You're going to add a magnet here, and then a magnet here to keep that, to hold that closed. And that's page. That's your page. That's your front cover of your page. You're going to flip it over, and on the back cover page of each cut page, and let me get my album out so I can show you. I don't know why I put that away, but I did. So for the front page, here's what we just created, is this. So there's your belly band, and then I attached the cut apart, matted it, and then attached it to the belly band. And then here is my tag. that I put in here, and if you can see on these, I did notch the edges with my angle punch. You do whatever, and I did use a die cut to make my pull tab there. This is going to be a magnetic, and it's going to open up like that. Okay, so that's the front of each page. Every page is the same. On the back, this is your back side. So what I did was, and you can decorate it in any way you want, I added 2 pieces of paper and left a thin, the cardstock showing between each one. Alright? And to make the photo mat that goes in the back page, you're going to cut a piece of cardstock 4.5 by 10.5. Okay? So it's going to be 4.5 by 10.5. And then you want to score this one at 3.25. So just draw your line right there, or score right there at 3.25. Fold it over, burnish it, and this is going to be your back right here, and that's going to sit right there. And I'm angling. So here's your front page. Here's your pages. So you've got your front with your tag, your belly band, your flap, and then when you flip the page over, you're going to have your photo mat that you can pull out because you're going to have a top loading pocket with this page. And you want to make 4 of those. Okay? I put this back in my album so I don't lose it. Keep it together. I lost one of my... Okay. Moving on. That's your pages. You want 4 of those. Okay. Now, for the back of the album, I created a waterfall for the main page in the back. And I'm going to show you how to do that. So you're going to cut a base for your waterfall, which you want to cut on your cardstock. You want to cut 6 by 7 3/4. So 6 across, 7 3/4 long. Okay. Then you're going to cut 7 pieces of cardstock that are 5 by 6. Along the 5-inch line, you want to come down and you're going to score it 1/2 inch on each one of them. This paper is real thin, so I have to be very careful with scoring. I don't know what I did with my other bone folder, and this one seems to be real sharp, and if I press too hard, it's good because this paper is so thin, it's going to go right through it. Normally on artesian cardstock, I would score double because the cardstock is so thick and heavy, good weight, that in order to make sure I get a good score line, I would go over it twice. But being that this paper is real thin, I'm not going to do that. So here's your base. Here's your 7 waterfall pieces. Go ahead and burnish over your score line on each one of them. There's 1, 2, 2 more to go. So by scoring these over, your waterfall is going to be, each one is going to be a 4.5 by 6. So I'm going to take my first one that I've got marked. I'm going to add, I'm not going to miter any of the edges on this paper. I'm just going to add my glue. And I'm going to turn this sideways just because it's easier for me. This is your base. This is your 6 by 7 3/4 base. You just want to go ahead and lay your first 4.5 or your 5 by 6 that you scored now is 4.5 by 6. Lay it down. Okay. So you want to make sure the paper is lined up on each side of the base and start at the very top. So lining that piece of paper up at the top. All right. Take your next one, add your adhesive, and right here, let's see if you can see it that's where my 1/2 inch was. You just want to lay this right up against it, making sure that your sides are even. And when you fold that over, these are even together. They match up. And you want to keep doing that with all the other ones. So you're just going to come all the way down, neaten up on the edges. Wipe off your excessive glue, because I have a tendency of using a lot of glue. Okay. Matching your edges together. And the last one. And there's your waterfall. What I did was I added a magnet here, and then I added it on the back, and that's going to hold it all down in the book. Okay, so I'm going to set that aside. So we've got our pages done. We've got our waterfall completed. Now I'm going to go ahead and start on the album itself, and then we will go to the expandable pocket that I put on the inside of the cover of the album, and then the side pocket that I put on the other end on the flap. So to begin with, I went ahead and you need to cut your cardstock, or your chipboard, I'm sorry. So you need 2 pieces that are cut 6 by 8, 1 piece that is cut by 3.5 by 8, and 1 piece that is cut 2 1/4 by 8. And I will have these all in the description. I went ahead and I cut my cardstock down to 10 by 12. And then I went ahead and scored it at a 1-inch side on this side and a 1-inch side along the bottom. I took 2 pieces of the 10 by 12. I heared them in the middle together like that. Alright, to make it extra long. Then I went in and I scored one side at a 1-inch and then 1 inch all the way across. And that I do just because it's my guideline. So we're going to take this, one of your 6 by 8, and line it up with the 1-inch score line and the 1-inch score line. That's my guide. Okay. Then we're going to take your 2 1/4 by 8, and that's going to be your next piece. All right. And then you're going to take your other 6x8, and that you want, and the reason I do that is because I want it to be, that seam to be on the larger part of the chipboard. And then your last piece is going to be your 3.5x8. Now, so I'm going to go ahead and start with this. And normally, like I said, on my albums, I always use the score tape and the score tape sheets. I'm going to, for prototype purposes, I'm just going to use my glue, right? Because I won't be using this as an album. This is just in order to do the tutorial. So I'm adding my glue, and I'm going to match it up to the score lines that I have as my guideline. Okay? I'm going to move these pieces over. Now, when you use glue, you want to make sure that you really burnish it down and make sure you're moving that glue all along your page, your chipboard. Okay? Now, we do need to use score tape. Let me find it. I know I put it in here. I have some down here. I know I do. Yeah. Okay. I'm using the 1/4 score tape, and I'm just going to add it right next to my chipboard. And that's going to help guide me to where I'm going to put my next piece, which is your 2.25x8. And again, like I said, I normally use score tape and score sheets for my albums, but I'm doing this with the art glitter glue. And believe it or not, it's gonna actually, I could use this as an album, and I would have no fear of it falling apart. That's how great the art glitter glue is. Okay, so I'm going to add that one there, and again, I'm going to make sure I burnish it real well. Okay. I'm going to add another one piece of 1/4 score tape to make my guidelines. Let me cut that off. And I'm just bringing it up to the edge of the chipboard. Pull this off. Now we're going to add our next 6x8 piece. And I'm just going to butt it right up to the score line at the bottom and against that piece of score tape that I put down. Now, I want to make sure I really burnish this down good because it's right up against where I have the two pieces of cardstock matching, and I don't want it to come out. Okay, again, we're going to put down another piece of 1/4 score tape, just matching it right up to the edge of the chipboard. And our last piece of chipboard for the album cover is your 3.5x8. And I'm just going to put it right up there. Matching the score line at the bottom, button it right up to my piece of adhesive score tape there. Make sure I burnish it down. Okay. Go ahead and find my pen for my glue. What I did with it, of course, it's got to be right here. Here it is. So my glue stays fresh. It doesn't dry out on me. Okay, So you've got the 1 inch over here on this side, and you want only 1 inch of paper on this side. So what I do is I get my cutter out, and I just take this and line my chipboard up on the 1 inch line, and then just take that extra and cut it and get rid of it. So that way I have 1 inch, 1 inch, 1 inch, 1 inch. And that's what I want for my cover. Then I take, and I'm going to fold my paper over along the edge of my chipboard. Okay. Now, the side that you've already scored, that really does well, but you want to make sure when you fold it over that you're not getting any tucks or creases in it. And you want to do that to all 4 sides. Okay, so that's what you have left. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to miter my corners. So I just come up to the edge, meet where my chipboard is, and take off my edges. You also can just, where you folded it, if you just cut on those score lines, that's going to give you a perfect square right there. And then I just come back and I angle them out, because I like the neat look when I go to fold my paper over onto my chipboard. So I just save myself a step and I just angle it. But if you're not, while you're learning, or when I first started out doing it, I did cut the corners and then I went back and angled it. So whatever you're comfortable with. Okay. So I need my glue again, because we're going to cover our chipboard on the inside. So I'm going to run, let me get this up in the camera view. I'm going to run the glue right against, just a thin line against my chipboard, and then I'm going to come back and add it here. And yeah, this is again a phototype. I don't plan on using it, so I'm not putting a whole lot of glue on it. Alright, and then what I do is I come up and I just run my bone folder against the edge so I have a nice, clean, sharp edge. Go ahead and do the other long side, a thin line against the chipboard, and what that does is it helps soften up the fibers of the paper, so when you go to bend it, it helps prevent it from cracking. And again, this is very inexpensive paper. It's not going to be like the artesian cardstock, which doesn't crack at all. The thinner the paper is, sometimes it has a tendency to crack. The less weight. So, and when I folded that over, I did get a crease, so I wanted to get that out right away because I don't want a crease. Okay, and then I'm going to come up and just run this right along. And this here, anybody that has Pampered Chef, these were your stoneware scrubbers, and I'll tell you what, they make the best bone folder type of tool. I know Tammy uses the pieces or the scrapers from Harbor Freight, and I haven't. We do have a Harbor Freight by us, but I haven't been there, so I haven't picked any up. But I found that this works just as well for me because I'm able to really get in there and make sure that my glue is spread evenly. Okay, so there's the one half, and see by coming in at an angle how nice and neat. I don't know if I'll bring that up. how nice and neat this is right here. So let's do the other side, the thin layer. All right, so there's our album. There's your spine right here, your front cover, your back cover, and then this is going to flip over to be, you know what, I just messed up. I forgot a spine. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I just did that. So you're going to need another 2 3/4 spine between this one and that one. So that's a mess up big time. So I can tear this apart and add to it, which I'll do. I can't believe I just did that. So you want to cut 2 of the 1 2/4 by 8 because you need another spine in between this one. I can't believe I did that. But hang on, let me just fix it right here, right now. Big scissors. I had a big pair of scissors down here. I know I do. Oh. Alright, well, yeah, there they are right here. So I'm just gonna cut this off right here. And you'll see how sometimes you have to, when you mess up, you're going to have to fix it. I'm going to be right back. I got to run upstairs and get another piece of chipboard because I took it all back upstairs thinking I was done here. So let me run up there and get chipboard real quick, and I'll be right back. Alright, I apologize. Let's see. Cut a piece of chipboard here. So I want 2 1/4 by 8. So that's 8, so I just need to cut this one at 2 1/4. Alright. This is why I use inexpensive paper when I'm making my prototype, because sometimes you make mistakes. And I'm not ashamed to share my mistakes. So, I think I've done this once before in a video too. I need to get a new blade for my need some more paper here. So obviously you're going to need an extra sheet of paper that's cut by 10, because in order for this to have for you to give you room to have an inch on each side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and score this at 1 inch. Okay, I'm going to take and add glue to this one, and we put it right here. Okay. Then I'm going to take and add my score tape to both these sides. Both sides of this one. Because I want to have that fourth gap there. Alright, so then I'm going to add glue to the sides of it. Well, I don't want it down there. I just need it up here. Okay, and I'm going to match this, pull this over. I need to cut this off. So you don't have to throw the whole thing away and start over with it when you make a mistake. And this is the reason why I'm showing you what I would, you know, how you can fix it. Now, an album that I'm going to sell, I would throw it away and start new. An album that I'm going to keep for myself, I'm okay with doing it this way. So, alright, so you got your extra piece. And what I had was a piece that is, it's about 4 1/4 inch wide. And so I'm just going to match this up here, right next to the score. So, alright, there. Alright, so now I have this on here. I want to come back and I want to make sure that it's really down. And it's on the back. That extreme is going to be on the back, so I'm okay with that. And I'm going to do the same on this side. Backing off of this. I can't believe I did that, but I was trying to rush myself, and I shouldn't have. Okay, this is even. I'm going to take a little bit more of this excess paper off here, because I don't want that to bulk in my album. Alright, and I'm going to take this piece, line it up with the 1 inch, on the 1 inch score mark at the bottom, and then right next to the score tape that I added. And this is, you know, now, if I was going to keep this, and again, it's just a photo type, instead I would have made sure that this piece of paper, that additional was 6 inches. So I would have had additional room and it come over more. I don't like it being so close to the bend line, but it will work for this photo type. But again, if something like this happens and you are going to salvage it, it's because it's an album for yourself, then make this at least 6 inches so it comes over to the middle, more the middle of your chipboard, not so close to this, the bending of the seam. Okay, so I'm just going to fold this over, and I hear it. And I'm going to do the same thing at the top. I'm adding a little bit of glue along the edge there of the chipboard. Alright, and then I'm going to just fold this over as well. Okay, so now that's going to give me the album that I want. It's giving me a couple more seams, but I'm okay with that because when I add my patterned paper is going to cover those seams. So here is your album. Even with my mistake, we were able to salvage it, okay? So now what we want to do is I want to make sure this is down, only because I don't want it to come apart when I'm trying to show you how I'm. Okay, you want to cut for the inside of your album, to cover that. I cut 2 pieces, 12 by 7 7/8. 7 7/8 by 12. And that's going to fit right inside my middle page of my thing. And I want to make sure that when I add this, first off, I don't want any of the paper to catch in here, or the end of it, the seam to be there. And by this, it's not going to. It's actually going to measure up pretty close, because this is still on this. So I'm okay with that. So I'm going to go ahead and add my glue. And normally on my albums, I would be using score tape on this, not the glue. I only use the glue on my pages. I'm just so used to using the score tape on the album that it's just a habit I have. I have made albums using the glue like I am doing now on my thing. The only thing is just make sure that you really move that glue around and you don't have bubbles in it on your paper. And I found that to happen, especially when you've got this right here where you've got to fold it in on this. So see how that just pulled up on me? It's one of the reasons why I don't use the glue. Add more glue here. Now we're going to add this one. Alright, so I'm going to put this over here. I'm going to match it up to with my paper that I put down, bringing it right close to the edge there. And then I'm going to, because I have a seam here, I got an extra one here, so I'm going to go ahead and get this one in first. And then I've got another seam here. And okay. Make sure that paper is grabbing into those, onto my score tape that I have in between my chipboard. So that gives me a nice clean closure. Okay, there you go. Okay, so here's our album, okay? Now, once you put your pattern paper on, it's gonna, you're not gonna see these seams, okay? So what I did on this one now, just to help give you a visual, where am I? Find out what I did with my pen, my pen for my glue. Again, there it is. I have a tendency to lose it, and I even have a magnet on the side of my bottle, but I forget to use it. Okay, so I put, on mine, I put 3 magnets here, okay? And then I just left that there. I went ahead and covered my pattern paper on all these. On this, I went ahead and did my pattern paper, okay? So, on this inside flap, which folds over, I went ahead and I put a little small pocket on there. So what you want to do is cut a piece of cardstock that is 2.5 by 8.5. You want to score at 1/2 inch along the edge on all 3 sides. Just like you were making a pocket, a normal pocket. I'm going to go ahead and miter the corners on these. Why I use those big scissors is beyond me, but that's what I grabbed. Okay, get rid of the score tape. We don't need that anymore. Alright, so 2.5 by 8.5, scored on 3 sides. And add my glue. And this is the 3.5 inch flap. I'm going to go ahead and add the side pocket to that. Should be 2.5 by 9.5. Sure hope you haven't cut your paper yet. Let's see. This is a 10. Alright, we'll just use this one here. Let me 2.5 by 9. Not 2, yeah, 2.5 by 9 is because our album is 8 inches wide. Go ahead and get this going here real quick again. Add my adhesive. And then I'm going to add my pocket here. Again, this is on the 3.5 inch flap. Excuse me. Oh. Okay, and that's my little pocket on my 3.5 inch flap. Okay, now what I did was I had the magnets here. Before I put my pattern paper on my pocket, I added my other 3 magnets. So when this closes, you're going to not have all that bulk paper and the magnets not hold. So this is going to allow those magnets to hold. And then it's also going to allow you, as you will see, my second project was a box to put this in, and these magnets also caught on the box that held it shut like that. Okay, so that's that one. Now the other thing that I wanted to show you on this album is I made the expandable pocket. So we just did this one, this pocket here. This has my magnets here. Film it on there. Okay, and then on the front cover I made an expandable pocket. And that's our next thing that we have to do. So, you're going to need 2 pieces of paper, pieces of cardstock. So move that out of the way. Your first piece of cardstock is going to be 3.5 by 5.25. And you want to score it 1/2 inch along the 3.5 edge. So 3.5 by 5 1/4. Your next piece is going to be 5 1/2 by 8 1/4. On this one, you're going to score it 1/2 inch, 1 inch, and 1/2 inch, 1 1/2 inch. Rotate it to the other side, score it 1/2 inch, 1 inch, 1 1/2 inch. Rotate it again, and you want to score it 1/2 inch along the one bottom edge. So you're going to have 3 score lines on each side and 1 at the bottom. I'm going to go ahead and cut off right here along this, and then I'm going to miter it across. And that's the way it's going to look. So miter it across, and then I'm going to trim those off. Okay? I'm going to, at the top, this is what it looks like at the top, I'm going to miter it just a little bit right over to that score line. And I'm going to do the same thing over on this side. Okay. And I'm going to do the same thing at the bottom. So I've got both sides, top and bottom, mitered. Not a whole lot, just enough that it gives me an edge, okay? So you want to fold on the side, on your 3 fold score lines, you want to fold the first one in, second one out, third one in. Okay? On both sides. First one in, score out, and then score in. So you have a valley and then the mountain. A valley and then the mountain on that. Take your bottom score line, fold it up, burnish. Okay. And then you want to take a little bit of glue right here on each side of your flap on the bottom. Bring it up and lay it down on those flaps. And if you have clothespins are really great to use to hold this in. Okay, so there's our pocket. Bringing our album back over. I'm going to add adhesive to the 3 sides. And I'm going to line this up at the... Now, I already have pattern paper on here. So then I'm going to put this right on top of the pattern paper. Okay. Burnish it down. And there's your pocket. Now, you want your flap. Fold your score line over. You can round your corners on your flap or any other corner punch, decorative punch. Add glue to your 1/2 inch score line and bring it up. And I'm going to overlap my pocket by about a 1/2 inch. Oh, maybe 3/4. 3/4. All right. I'll lay that down. So I've got my pocket flap, comes over. I'm going to put a magnet here, or I'm going to use a tab that I held my pocket for. You can use a magnet though, and just add your magnet here, and then one on the inside, and that's going to hold it down. Your waterfall is you're going to have your magnet under here, your first flap, and then on the back, and then you're going to take and add adhesive all to the back of it, and that's going to go right here on the last page, on the back cover. Okay? And then your hinge is going to go over here. Your hinges, when I made my hinges, I put a 1/2 inch gusset between my hinges. So that is the album. I'm not going to show you how to make the hinge, because that's a hinge is a hinge. It's like I always make. If you want to watch one of my other tutorials for the hinge, and then your pages are going to go right on your 4-page hinges right there. And there's your album. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to send me a message, and I will gladly respond as quickly as I can. Again, thank you for watching and supporting my designs at Country Craft Creations, and you all have a good day now.